listening to the album, I get this feeling that that you're kind of like scrappy underdogs.
Yeah, okay, that's not intentional because we want to be the guys on the top, but we always have to be the guys on the bottom, and so we go with it, and we just say, yeah, we're like the underdogs, you know, we don't care, but we really do. It hurts.
With the release of Green Day's Dookie in 1994, the punk rock movement was at an all-time high. Its catchy melodies, relatable lyrics, and overall high energy fizzled out the grunge scene, and a new wave of bands were on the rise to mainstream popularity, such as Blink-182, Fall Out Boy, Sum 41, and many more. With the help of MTV, radio, MySpace, file-sharing sites like Napster and LimeWire, and later on, YouTube, the subgenre of pop-punk stayed afloat for more than a decade. However, when it started losing its mainstream focus by the late 2000s, a bunch of bands either changed their format to be more radio-friendly pop, or simply disappeared out of nowhere. The latter choice was ultimately chosen by Flashlight Brown. Flashlight Brown consisted of Matt Hughes, Phil Bucchino, Mike Conroy, and Tim Thomson. The band formed in Ontario, Canada in the late 90s and scored it big in the early 2000s with their major label debut, leading to their music being put on soundtracks as well as opening for big names in the scene. Despite that, when their label contract ended in 2006, the band fell into obscurity. Today, I'm going to look into the history, legacy, and underrated works of Flashlight Brown. Out of pure boredom and frustration, Flashlight formed as a ska band in 1996, as a way to take advantage of a long hot summer. After graduating, they made the move from their small college town of Guelph to the big city of Toronto. At first, the band struggled to catch the attention of club owners, so they had to make up a fictional booking agency with themselves as a sole client, and that gave them enough attention to start booking dates for their first shows and tour across Canada in a van. By the following year, they signed to Montreal-based Stomp Records and released their debut album, simply titled Flashlight. The band decided to leave Stomp a little while afterward.
You left Stomp Records. You were always kind of the black sheep, I think, of Stomp Records.
Yeah, but it's not. It's black sheep in a good way. I mean, we like Stomp gave us the chance that we always needed. I mean, our first CD, if we hadn't come out on Stomp, probably nobody here would know us for sure. And so they did probably a bigger service for us than anybody ever did. They took a chance on us, and we're always thankful for that. But for this record, when we finished it, it just wasn't Stomp, and it wasn't ska enough, and it just wasn't the same sort of thing that their last one was. And so we had a friendly goodbye.
In the summer of 1999, Flashlight released their sophomore album, Running Season, on their own management, AA Records. To the band's surprise, the album grabbed the attention of MuchMusic, the Canadian equivalent of MTV, who interviewed the band a number of times since its release, and broadcasted the video for their song Sonia Bianchi, helping boost album sales, topping the college charts, and giving Flashlight a name in the underground punk community.
Flashlight from Toronto claimed that their career has taken off so incredibly since their appearance on Much East.
Well, yeah, no, things are going good. We've just been touring for 5 weeks, so we're a little tired right now, so excuse us.
By the turn of the millennium, both their full-length albums combined sold roughly 8,000 copies, including an MP3-only release that was downloaded 5,000 times in its first 2 weeks.
Good sounding stuff. Now, I hear you're the band at the forefront of the indie band internet movement.
Yeah, Mike invented the internet, as a matter of fact.
Mike invented it, created it?
Yeah. Yeah, him and Al Gore got together and invented the internet about 10 years ago.
In 2001, the band was legally forced by a disco funk band, also called Flashlight, to change their name to Flashlight Brown, and they released their third album, the first with their new name, in the fall on the newly formed Union 2112 Records, the new version of Stomp. This album saw the first shift in the band's sound, fully departing from the ska sound they originated with and going towards more straightforward pop punk.
Okay, well, I think a lot of this album, there was a lot of ska beat kind of sound to it, and for some reason we slowly have drifted from that, and we're just playing straight punk rock, pop.
Everything changed in the summer of 2002 when the band was contacted by none other than Rob Cavallo, who who was most well known for being Green Day's producer from Dookie to Shenanigans at the time. The band were in the midst of a tour with no advertising, flat broke, sleeping in a parking lot in Calgary when a date was confirmed for them to fly out to LA. Cavallo originally intended to record 2 songs, but as chemistry grew and he fell in love with the band and their music, he decided to produce an entire album and sign them to Hollywood Records. Working with Rob was unbelievable. I remember sitting in the studio with him and every once in a while I'd wonder, why the hell is this guy working on our music? 2003 was a big year for Flashlight Brown, starting with the release of My Degeneration that spring, marking their first on a big-name label. The album was considered a result of a culmination of a 6-year career of living on the edge between a dream and a despair. The opening track, Ready to Roll, became highly requested on Much On Demand thanks to a guy named Kyle, and was featured on the soundtrack for Rugrats Go Wild, the band's first soundtrack appearance for a feature production. As for touring, this year marked the first time the band crossed over to other countries outside of Canada, opening for the likes of the All-American Rejects, Motion City Soundtrack, Sugar Cult, and Sum 41. They performed over 200 dates in North America and Japan that year, playing in venues, arenas, festivals like Vans Warped Tour and Lollapalooza, and high school assemblies alike.
Come on, get off the seats for 1 second. Everybody, on your feet. That's much better. Let's have a good time. We got 30 minutes of fun, then you gotta get back to class. Everyone ready?
By 2005, it was time for them to start getting back to the drawing board, working with producer Dave Bassett on their follow-up with Hollywood Records titled Blue. In the meantime, 2 songs were posted to their website that November, I'm a Human and a cover of the English Beats' Save It For Later. Both songs respectively were featured in Season 5 of Smallville and the cult film Disney's Sky High.
It's our first day, but I already can't wait to graduate and start saving mankind. And womankind. And animal kind.
And the rainforest.
Of course.
Blue marked yet another shift in the band's sound. While mostly fusing their pop-punk sound with the likes of emo and alternative rock, in tandem with what every band in the genre was doing at the time, it also drew inspiration from bands like The Clash, Nirvana, and the Beatles. According to their website, its 11 tracks tell a classic human story about life, love, and laughter, and how all 3 ultimately gang up on you. Originally aiming for a June 2006 release, that month came and went with no album in sight, before the band posted an update in July announcing that they had split from Hollywood Records due to extreme differences of opinion. The album was quietly dropped in Canada the day before Halloween. By the time the band had ended their contract, they cancelled their summer touring, which would have been Vans Warped Tour 2006, but they remained hopeful in playing shows again in the future. In early 2007 they performed on MTV Overdrive, but by this time there was a lot of uncertainty within the band's activity. One last update was posted to their website in early 2009. While mostly a letter from Matt explaining the lead-up and production for their Blue album, it ends with, "Styles come and go, but no one can get rid of us. When the world is finally flattened by nuclear Armageddon, there will be the Roaches and Flashlight Brown. We don't plan on going away."
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys at Juno hopefully.
Despite everything going on for them, unfortunately the band just weren't able to keep up with the scene at the time. They really only found a following in their home country of Canada, and promotion from their label was minimal, and the band fell into obscurity only a few years after their last album was released. As their last update said, styles do come and go, so the members likely felt that Flashlight Brown was only a product of its time. In the years following the band's dissolution, the members of the band resorted to living private lives, with the one exception being Phil, who became an olive oil expert. He currently operates his own line under Abandoned Grove, and produced a documentary which follows his exploration to Italy in search of extra virgin olive oil. Despite very little discussion, Flashlight Brown's music still lives on through a small cult following. To this day, most of their music is easily accessible on the internet. Throughout the band's career, they worked with people whom they admired, and shared stages with some of the biggest bands in the genre. Plus, they were one of the first few to release MP3-only material, forefronting a new trend of online musicians. With the recent resurgence of the punk and geek rock genres, it's likely that Flashlight's following will gradually grow, despite no plans for a reunion. One thing's for certain, Flashlight Brown's intentions to take their craft seriously and pay homage to a better time of rock and roll makes them more than just the underdogs.
But the thing is, like, what are the advantages of being an underdog?
None. Oh, actually, no, there's one. Nobody gets disappointed by you.
Yes.
You always get to go on first and then eat all the other band's food. And,
Drink their beer.
yeah, actually, those are the only two advantages.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're not bad, though.
Nobody go down from being the underdog,
Yeah,
only
exactly,
up.
Exactly.